Hey guys, what's up? It's Dave. I'm going to go over the heavyweights of the market. So these names include Microsoft, NVDA, Apple, Amazon, AVGO. Then we have Meta, Netflix, Tesla, Google, CrowdStrike. And then lastly, Now. So those are the top 11 names of the QQQ. I also track PLTR, Palantir, and then Hood, Robinhood. So if that interests you, then continue on watching. I'll run through it real quick. All right, so firstly, one new quote-unquote type of indicator that I'm looking at is the NYSE FANG index. You can see that there has been a rather large move since the lows of April 7th to the highs of just, what is that, Thursday there? Let's just do an about here. An about of 58.69% in the NYSE FANG index here. So let's just round it up to 59. It's pretty wild, right? So if we get a little pullback here coming up, like a lot of people are anticipating, which you can always have the thought, you know, a lot of people are thinking about it. Can it really happen? I don't know, but we're about to find out. Either way, 59%, you know, we'll take it. And a little pullback is not going to hurt anybody. Well, it could hurt people, but it would be healthy. It would be healthy overall. All right, Microsoft, let's do it. Looking at it on the daily here, it had earnings on this date. What was it? Wednesday evening. So you can see that it basically opened up at the highs and has done nothing but sell off. It was very good earnings, you know, but the thought is that this run up here, again, from the lows of the 7th to the high of earnings, 62.5%. So I don't know what you expect. I wasn't certainly going to buy this. My rule is I don't touch names until 3 days after earnings anyways. Either way, you know, this has had a monster run, big gap up. It was like, I don't know, 8-9%, something like that. And then it's done nothing but sell off. So I'm not super shocked. Also, that's why, part of why, because this is the heaviest of them all, especially in the Qs, of why the market is selling off. NVIDIA has been a very strong runner. You could see, so on here, I had the lines are 8, 21 EMAs, by the way. White lines 8, blue lines 21, yellow lines 50, and then its pinkish line is 200, all EMAs. You can see it's train tracking, so the direction has been clearly up. I don't use these for execution. I know a lot of people do. I do not. I just pretty much use them as a way to see direction. It's a nice, another easy way to make sure we're going the right way. Because otherwise, you know, if it's chopping around here kind of like this, it shows indecision, right? And then here, these are train tracking-ish down, at least in this moment. So that's how I use the MAs there. Overall, it's still over the 21. I have zero interest in shorting NVIDIA. Unless it's under the 21 and then, I don't know, maybe consolidates and wants to make another leg down. But as of right now, I have zero interest in trading this to the downside or to the upside. We'll see how the week actually turns out, but I'm probably just going to be hands off with it. There's a time and place to be in the market. There's a time and place to be where you need to be and not to be where you, I guess, need to be. I don't know. You need to be somewhere where you don't need to be. Words are hard. Hopefully that makes sense. Apple, I have been watching this breakout. It's been consolidating. It could not get over this 216 or so. You know, it looked hopeful going into earnings. Literally did nothing until earnings except the last 3 days. And then earnings, apparently, you know, not a good reaction. Now we have some selling. And so I don't touch it for a name after 3 days of earnings. So I'm just going to wait till the end of the week, see what happens. Maybe we get some consolidation sideways and a little move to the downside around 194. This has been an interesting area for potential support. But otherwise, I don't have high hopes at the moment, especially on the long side. Zero interest there. Amazon looks pretty interesting. Got crushed on earnings. Down, what is that? 8.5, 8.25%. Overall, it was looking pretty good. It was EMAs. You can see them tracking up here. However, it's closing below the 50. I don't know if this is just an undercut and then Monday we're going to get psyched out and it bounces back up. Not sure. That's not my thought. My thought is potentially, you know, all of us that look at MAs, maybe we have the 200 coming up, a little tag there at 205.90-ish. Otherwise, I'm pretty hands off of this name as well, at least for 3 days. So probably, let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday would be the earliest I would even touch this. So we'll see what sets up with that. I don't know. My initial thoughts are on the short side, but that depends on how quickly this pullback happens. AVGO, this is strong. You can see EMAs train tracking upwards. This has just been a beautiful trend up. Let's see, what's the percentage of a run here? About 124%. Like, that's nuts. Good for you if you caught that. But this is a gapper and chopper. I've been tracking this for a few weeks now to a couple of months. It's just, it likes to gap and chop. It doesn't give you a lot of intraday signals. So it can be hard to trade intraday. But you know, whatever. This has tagged the 21 here, the 21 here, and each time it has followed through to the upside. You know, it here it opened and closed higher. This one opened and closed lower. This time here it opened lower, closed higher, and on Friday it opened lower and closed higher. So we'll see what this goes. Either way, I'm not confident in longs, especially because 70, 80%, 75, 85% of stocks follow the overall market. And if the overall market wants to, you know, pull back, if it's looking weak like that, I'm really not interested in going long unless I am absolutely like being pulled to go long, and I highly doubt I will feel that pull with a SPY. It looks like that. All right, that was AVGO. Let's move on to good old Meta. Meta crushed earnings. I love this cup and handle look. I am interested to see if these highs hold. We have this earnings gap that I'm just going to keep on there, and I'm going to I'll just decrease it. We'll see how much is left once it fills out. This here is a level of interest at 741.08 to 739.09. But otherwise, you know, we'll see. I do like this. This is a top watch for me. If it can just chop around and hold, maybe put in a consolidation at these highs, and then depending on how quickly if this pullback does happen any deeper, and how quickly it will recover, it all depends. It can all change on a dime, especially with headline news and all that. You know, either way, I like it to chop and then turn back up and around and give me an intraday signal to enter there. That would be pretty ideal. So this is a top watch Meta for me is going forward. Netflix, I do like the short here. I like the short, especially if the overall market is going to stay weak. You know, here's a downtrend line for you guys if you like that stuff. The way I like it is that these are starting to train track to the downside. This is tagged the 8 EMA there, 8 EMA there, and now on Friday, each time getting sold off. So, I mean, I don't know if there's a quote unquote algo on those things. There's a lot of those thoughts there. I don't give it that too much weight. I just stick to my process. But either way, what I do like is this consolidation of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, 8 days. On the 8th day, it started to break down. However, it did close within this range here still. But if we get a gap down or a move down and then a signal intraday to enter, I'm shorting this thing, especially because it's underneath the 50 EMA. I'm not interested in shorting looks that look like this. It's just not worth it. But this is already downward pressure. I am looking for a consolidation that will start turning up, but this might not be it. So we shall see. You got to be nimble, but you got to be quick. I don't know. In the past, this is flagged to the 200. I don't know if that's going to be a thing that actually happens, but I guess it's good to be prepped for it. That is another 12% down. So be mindful of that. Don't just toss cash at a potential falling knife here. Wait for your signals if you have any intraday or however you do your thing. Just don't sit around and click buttons. Have a plan. But my plan is if I get a signal too short, I'm going to short this. Tesla. A lot of people looking at this pattern right here. This is just indecision. I've had zero interest in this basically since it started to do this. Once I started recognizing this, it might be happening. It's starting to get interesting as it starts to break here. But we need a direction. Either way, I'm not touching this in here. It's just not worth it for me. Again, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. Google, I do like. Earnings, all it did was sell off. And then, I had a couple of days. I did take a shot at it in here. I took a small gain on it. And then, we have some selling, but it's still over the 21 EMA. We have, I gotta take this level out. Some levels that's breaking. I guess the next one I'm really looking at is 185.07 and 185.06, so 1 cent. That does come from somewhere, believe it or not. And 183.68 and 182.81. So I'll be watching those. Kind of lines up with the 50. Either way, with some selling, I'd look for some sort of consolidation, some sort of rounding, and then, some signal up. This is not a look I'm just going to blindly short. Like I said, I don't short anything above the 21. Ideally, it's below the 50. Crowd, I drew this a few days ago. Obviously, it is not working out. It was an educated, speculation. Actually, I wouldn't say educated, it's just a straight up speculation. I did say I would want to short this, which this is somewhat similar to, I'm going to take this away now, to Netflix, where we have the consolidation here. It's just a little bit longer. It did break these lows and set a higher low versus this, but we have the consolidation here, broke the low. We did get a signal intraday. I did have a potential to enter. I simply did not because I didn't want the over the weekend risk. Even though it risked gapping down, it gave, it only gave one opportunity and I missed it. So that is what it is. Maybe we have, if it's underneath the 50 MA and these guys are pointing downwards, the 8 and the 21, I'm game to short as long as I get an intraday signal to enter. And then I'll just do my process where I, trim my stops and stuff like that. So crowd looks interesting. Maybe if we get a little chop in here, I just don't like how, I think this was the move on Thursday to catch. I don't know if it gave a signal or not, I forget, but either way, that's crowd. All right, moving on to now, service now. This has been struggling up around here. Earnings did nothing but sell off. Nice little H pattern and then go down. Broke the 21. This was a pretty decent short opportunity. I don't know if it gave this signal down. Yes, it did. And it also gave an entry here. Just did not have a time to get in, nor did I want to get the weekend risk here. But either way, I'm also down to short now. Actually, you know what? I take that back. There's a gap here that has potential. Nope. That has potential support. So I take that back. I'm not gonna, until it touches that, I don't know what it's gonna do. So, and it's an earnings gap up too. So take that back. I'm not going to short that into this. I'll leave it alone. PLTR, I trade this guy often. This has been great to me over the past couple weeks. Made some decent money on here. Chipping away at my losses at the beginning of the year, which feels good. And so, it's still over the 21. Train track. We'll see what actually happens. Maybe, it's going to come close to the 50 here, just like this. But last time it had a strong down day of 10%. All it did was get bought up. So very strong name, leader. I am a long-term holder in here. My average is probably around 82 or so, which is pretty decent. I'm just going to continue to hold and let it do what it wants to do. Obviously, I'll be mindful of things, but I'm not just going to willy-nilly short this thing. I'll wait for a long setup to show. And then Hood, also long-term investor in this guy. Been holding it since down here, the consolidation. I even have a few shares in the $10 range, but I bought a good majority, probably like at least 80%, 90% of my position within this range here. So still doing pretty decent there. Been trading this on and off-ish, have been doing okay with it, but PLTR is really the winner for me so far. Undercut the 20, over now the, 21, under and over. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't mind some chop and a signal up, but either way, not something I would actually want to short either. So what I would short again is not Tesla. Well, Tesla, I guess, could be a candidate if it wants to break this and the 200 MA. It just has low. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite, so I probably won't. Netflix, I do like the short on Netflix. Crowd, with a little bounce, maybe a little bit, get a little bit closer to the 8 and then a signal down. I wouldn't mind a short on crowd either. So those are my thoughts. That's the plan. Really overall, not much going on. I'm just probably going to sit back, relax, and just kind of watch, see what happens, and make sure I am where I need to be when I'm supposed to be there. Stay safe, do your homework. Later.